Hi, welcome to Polyphonic Press. I'm Jeremy Boyd, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Joshua Tree by U2. So when U2 were recording their fifth studio album, The Joshua Tree, they had barely broken in the US. However, due to the moderate success of The Unforgettable Fire and their captivating performance at Live Aid, they were starting to generate a buzz and had started to grow as a band. The album was largely inspired by U2's recent tour in the United States. Bono wanted to record something that was sort of different from their last album, The Unforgettable Fire, which had a more European sort of style to the song structure. Bono wanted to create something that was uniquely sort of American inspired and had been inspired by their time traveling to places like New Orleans and just getting a really deeper understanding of the United States and where rock and roll music had come from. The Edge was sort of hesitant to work in the confines of that song structure, but Bono inevitably convinced him to work within those sort of limitations and sort of see what they could explore, putting that cap on where they could do. Like the band's previous effort, they got the production team of Daniel Lanois and Brian Eno, and with their guidance, they wanted to create something that was a little more organic sounding. Although there were a lot of effects on the guitar that the Edge was using, a lot of effects like flange and chorus and reverbs and lots of delay, although there was a lot of effects, there wasn't any, they didn't use any synthesizers or anything like that. They wanted to capture the spirit of the band recording, and really with the guidance of Brian Eno, who wanted to create some textures in the studio, and Daniel Lanois wanting to capture the band as they were as a unit. Seemingly these two styles sort of contradict each other, but when they those two approaches kind of coming together, you really create something unique. So because they only have one guitar player and they don't have a keyboard player, there really isn't much to do with the instrumentations, or so you would think. Because, like I said, the Edge uses a lot of effects, it really fills out the sound. And yet, it somehow still leaves a lot of room for the bass and the drums and Bono's vocals to come out right in the center and be the focal point. It's a really great lesson in how to mix a record properly and to have everything balanced almost perfectly, but they still managed to capture the spirit and the essence of the band and to not have it sound fake or disingenuous. The album opens with the song Where the Streets Have No Name, and The Edge had recorded a demo with the instrumental of this track pretty much laid out, and with the intention in mind of having a really great live song where the crowd could sing along and it would be a staple at all of U2's live shows. Although it was a great piece of music, the band had a hard time trying to nail it down. Like I said, Daniel Lanois wanted to have pretty much everybody record live, so they tried to record the song live off the floor, but because there were a lot of key changes, lots of chords, and the time signature changes a couple times throughout it, they were really having a difficult time trying to learn all the little nuances of the song. So they recorded the basic track and it wasn't that great, so they kind of spent a lot of time trying to record overdubs on it, almost to the point where I think none of the original recording was left. It was all sort of redone. So because of this, and because they were having such a difficult time, it was decided that they needed to start over, but Brian Eno didn't want to tell them to start over, so he kind of staged an accident. He told the band that the tape that they had recorded had accidentally been erased, and this was actually done on purpose. It's debatable about whether or not he actually went through and erased the take, but he told the band that everything was gone and they had to start fresh. And because of this, and because they kind of, through doing overdubs, they pretty much learned the song, they were able to approach it as a live band much easier than they had tried to before. All they really needed was a little bit of time to get it right, but the performance that's on the record is just an amazing piece of music. The way that Edge is, his guitar with the delay that he gets, and Bono's vocal performance is near perfect. It's just a really great record, and it wouldn't have happened had they not spent the time to really try and get it right. The whole album was sort of a difficult undertaking. It was recorded at several different studios. Although they wanted an American feel, part of it was recorded in New York, some of it was recorded in Dublin, Ireland, which is U2's hometown. So they never really felt like they had a home while recording this album. So the feel of the record can vary from song to song. U2 has the perception of being an equal partnership. And if you look on the album credits of most of their albums, all of the songs are credited to U2. So no one member of the band is more important than the band itself. That said, there are still arguments over which direction the band should go, and this was at a time when the band were sort of in a disagreement over whether or not they should continue with the American style songwriting or if they should do something different. There were a lot of disagreements within the band over this album, and although, like I said, it's an equal partnership and they're doing everything for the good of the band, each member still has an idea of what they want the band to be. I think the song that most people probably know from this album is I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. And Daniel Lanois actually pushed Bono very hard to come up with something that sounded very gospel-like. And you can definitely hear it in the chord changes and in the vocal performance and the melodies that they came up with. The lyrics, I'm not so sure if it is a gospel song. It could definitely be about religion, but it could also be just about life in general. About you don't know where your career is going or what you want to do with your life, what kind of relationship you want to be in, those types of things. That could definitely be what the song is about, but it also could very well be about religion. That's kind of what I like about songwriters like Bono, and is the songs are left up to interpretation. So you could interpret it as someone trying to figure out what religion they're trying to be, or it could just be about life and trying to go through it and figure things out as you go. I think my favorite song on the album is probably Red Hill Mining Town. You know, for good reason. People look at people like Bruce Springsteen and John Mellencamp for the voice of the working class person in the United States. But I'm probably wrong about this, but I can't think of someone who is that voice for Europe. And so this song is actually about how coal mines were being shut down across the UK under the rule of Margaret Thatcher. So much like Bruce Springsteen and John Mellencamp writing songs about Ronald Reagan, U2 were writing songs about Margaret Thatcher and what she was doing to the economy. And so there were a lot of similarities in the UK and the United States at the time, especially with the government that was running each country. And what I kind of like about this song is that it's not specifically, it doesn't really take a side like a lot of songs do. It's not really a protest song, it's more just an observation of what was going on at the time, and it really leaves the listener to make up their own mind. I really like that about this song, is that it doesn't hit you over the head with someone's opinion. It delivers the facts and says, here's what's going on. You can either agree or disagree with it, but it's more like a report, like a news report or something like that. And that's a really clever way to do it, just to say, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think about it? And it sort of asks questions more than it answers them. What I love about this band is their ability to adapt and change from album to album, and yet they still somehow sound like U2. They really are conscious of not wanting to repeat themselves, but you can definitely identify that it's Edge playing guitar, it's Larry Mullen and Adam Clayton on rhythm, and of course Bono's vocals are very, very distinctive, and you know exactly who it is right away. Whether you like them or not, you can't dispute the fact that they don't sound like anybody else. They have their own sound, and somehow they've managed to be very successful without sounding like anybody else. And that's one of the things I like about this album, is it came at a time in 1987 when synthesizers and drum machines and like DX7s were very popular. That's what people made popular music on. And here comes this album, kind of not out of nowhere, but they really were had a slow burn. And it's got guitars and drums and bass and no samples or anything like that. There's lots of effects on the guitar, but that's the Edge's unique way of playing the guitar. Like he uses the effects creatively. He doesn't, and that's just him trying to find a different sound, and see what he can do with an instrument that pretty much everything has been done with it, and trying to find new sounds from a Telecaster or an Explorer, I guess is what he would use. I think this album is probably one of the most important albums it definitely helped change the landscape of popular music. Bands like Nirvana and what the sound of the 90s would become were still 4 years away. So this is it's very weird, not weird, but it's a turning point in popular music that this album was as popular as it was. It's a refreshing sound. It's a sound that people were ready for, I think. I guess it's considered an alternative rock album, although it went very mainstream, and it doesn't sound commercial, but it doesn't sound anti-commercial either. It's an honest record that is done in earnest, and it's just a band doing what they do best. So in terms of popular music and what this band represents and what the landscape of the music industry was at the time, this is a very pivotal moment, and it's an important record. If you only know the hits on this album, I would highly recommend listening to the whole thing. Go on Spotify, listen to the whole record, because there's lots of great gems on this album. So that's my take on U2's The Joshua Tree. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you know when I post new videos, and you can check out all my social media links. All those are in the description, and that's about it. I'll see you next time. Take it easy.